Before watching our video, we just want you to know that this is our final Carnival 24 video of the year, and we'll be back in January 2021. Hi, this is Garvey Campbell, and you are watching Carnival 24. Coming up. UK travel restrictions in the Turks and Caicos Islands have been eased. Caribbean Creole Cooking is celebrated with a virtual festival. A trade war between the EU and the United States continues to affect the drinks industry. Kes of Kes and the band considers legal action. Lord Nelson's statue has been removed from the capital of Barbados. And finally, Mia Mottley says there's hope for events in 2021. Keep watching. We hope you enjoy this week's show. Make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and if you're watching this on Facebook and want to see our most recent stories today, then make sure that you subscribe to the Carnival 24 YouTube page where we release these videos 2 weeks early, and click on the bell icon or use the link in the description to sign up to our mailing list and make sure you don't miss any of our shows in future. But before we get into each of these great stories, we've got a quick message for some of the tourism boards, governments, organisations and other contributors that we work with and who help us put this show together. As a programme, Carnival 24 works with various groups such as governments and regional organisations that help to make this show possible, and that includes tourism boards, trade organisations, committees and contributors that are working hard to continue to develop and continually improve the countries and the regions that we cover. However, we know that there's more great and inspiring stories out there happening right now that doesn't make it into mainstream media in other countries. And as a result, there's a lot of important information that isn't seen by interested people if they're not taking the time to actively search for it, because they live outside of a country or region where your information may be drowned out by their local or regional news, and this affects international awareness, public perception, and decisions that people choose to make. So if you're watching this and have regional or local news or stories that you think our audience would like to see in the areas of tourism, culture, business, trade or development, then send it through to us at contactus@carnivalnetwork.co.uk, which is the email address that we use to select our stories for the Carnival 24 programme. And if it's newsworthy, we'll include those stories right here on Carnival 24. And now, on with the show. Flights to and from the Turks and Caicos Islands from the UK has just become a lot easier. Recently, the Turks and Caicos Islands were added to England's travel corridor exemption list. This means that travellers who return from Turks and Caicos may not need to self-isolate, and this change has been in place since the 14th of November. The new exemption has been supported by a statement on the UK government's website which says, "The Turks and Caicos Islands are now on the list of countries and territories where self-isolation is not required on return to the UK." And it's followed by a statement that says, "We will keep the conditions in these countries, territories and regions under review, and if they worsen, we will reintroduce self-isolation requirements." Asked for a comment on this development, TCI Premier Charlene Cartwright-Robinson told the Sun newspaper that this is good news for the Turks and Caicos Islands. "When we were first removed from the exemption list, I initiated a call with the UK ministers to set out the case on behalf of the TCI. I shared that the methodology used was unfair to small territories, and further, the negative statement that this decision would make to other countries when TCI had been working so hard in the fight against the virus." As a result, the UK offered to send direct support to the Premier's office, the lab and the National Epidemiological Unit. We welcome the support of Public Health England, which is an executive agency of the Department of Health and Social Care in the UK. And this has resulted in several new initiatives taken in relation to case management, internal systems and community testing. And this support has played a major role in securing this decision. The travel industry as a whole has also welcomed the change in quarantine rules that will allow passengers returning to the UK from high-risk countries to reduce the time they self-isolate down to 5 days if they can provide a negative virus test result. Travel companies have been campaigning against the mandatory 14-day quarantine for all returning travellers since it was introduced on the 8th of June. And Paul Charles of the PC agency, who led the Quash Quarantine campaign, has said that shorter quarantines will boost travel confidence and bookings and enable quicker recovery in such a hard-hit sector. But he went on to say that some in the travel industry believe that even after the requirement to quarantine is dropped, consumers will remain cautious about travel. And this was followed up by John Telfer, the managing director of Explore, who said a counterbalance to this is that for some travellers, now that an effective vaccination is on the horizon, there may be a delay in committing to travelling this winter, and as a result they may decide to completely avoid travelling until it's been rolled out. As well as the TCI, several other Caribbean countries are currently on the exemption list, which can be found right now on the UK government website. And the changes come into effect on 15th of December and will require passengers to book and pay for a virus test from an approved provider on the UK government website. A Caribbean organisation is currently running a virtual festival celebrating Caribbean Creole cooking. The TASC is an organisation dedicated to providing real-time information and support to all sectors of the tourism industry. And at the time of this programme, the TASC, which stands for the Travel Advisors Selling the Caribbean, is currently showcasing a virtual festival called 12 Days of Caribbean Creole Cooking. Creole cuisine is a fusion of African, indigenous Amerindian and colonial cooking methods that have helped to shape the Caribbean's use of ingredients and the diverse and unique style of cooking and food preparation on each of the islands. The virtual festival is featuring the region's diverse culinary traditions with 28 Caribbean chefs, bakers and culinary artisans representing 17 different Caribbean destinations. The cooking series will not only explore the flavours of the region, but will also reveal history lessons about how many of the flavours evolved. And virtual stops on the taste trail include the French-speaking territories of Haiti with Stéphane Berouet-Durand and Natasha Supplice Henry, Guadeloupe and Martinique with Vladimir Francois Maikova and Gabi Martinon, Dominica with Randy Prosper, and St. Lucia with Orlando Satchel, Chef Empress Eve, Edna Butcher and Jonathan Jean-Baptiste. And these are all places where much of the population speaks Creole, which is a French-based patois spoken alongside the official language of English. Christmas is big in the Caribbean, and connecting via Zoom, chefs will prepare a feast of Caribbean-inspired dishes from the destination that they represent, and demonstrate simple steps in making mouth-watering dishes in 30 minutes of cooking time. Kelly Fontanelle, a founding member of the TASC, shared her own experience with Creole food, saying, "I grew up with Creole food in St. Lucia, and I describe it as my comfort food. The dishes are cooked slowly and mix ground provisions and spices to achieve the rich flavours of the tropics. This cuisine reflects our African heritage with a hint of French complexity and will appeal to the most discerning palate." In addition to the celebrity Caribbean chefs and live cooking demos, over the 12-day period the show will also feature premium dining experiences created by Caribbean chefs, a selection of rums, beer and wines, and spirits from the Caribbean, an ebook featuring chefs and their culinary creations, and much, much more. The 12-day virtual festival began on November the 29th, and if you're interested in checking it out, we recommend checking out the TASC website at tastc.org. A trade war between the United States and the European Union is currently having a serious impact on the drinks industry. Following our recent story where we told you an agreement that UK tariffs on Caribbean rum imports will remain the same after Brexit, last month the latest tariffs were authorised by the World Trade Organization, sanctioning the European Union to impose tariffs on almost $4 billion worth of US products. The new measures, which came into force on the 10th of November, is the latest move in an ongoing trade war between the EU and the USA and includes 25% tariffs on rum, brandy and vodka from the United States. The trade war between the EU and the US stems from a 16-year dispute between aircraft manufacturers Airbus and Boeing. In 2004, the United States took the EU to the World Trade Organization over subsidies to European plane maker Airbus. And the EU retaliated with a case against the United States over support for American manufacturer Boeing. In 2019, the United States implemented tariffs on 7.5 billion worth of EU goods, including single malt Scotch and single malt Irish whiskey. Valdis Dombrovskis, the EU Executive Vice President for an Economy that Works for People and Commissioner for Trade, said, "We have made clear all along that we want to settle this long-running issue. Regrettably, due to lack of progress with the United States, we had no other choice but to impose these countermeasures. The EU is consequently exercising its legal rights under the World Trade Organization's recent decision. We call on the United States to agree to both sides dropping existing countermeasures with immediate effect so we can quickly put this behind us. Removing these tariffs is a win-win for both sides, especially with the pandemic wreaking havoc on our economies. We now have the opportunity to reboot our transatlantic cooperation and work together towards our shared goals." Since these tariffs were imposed, the global drinks industry has witnessed a 34% decline in Scotch whisky exports and a 28% decline in liqueur and cordial exports. Similarly, a 25% tariff on bourbon and US whiskey, announced by the EU in June 2018, led to a 41% decline in American whiskey exports to the EU. A coalition of trade bodies, including the Distilled Spirits Council of the United States and the Scotch Whisky Association, have warned the new measures will further degrade the difficult situation the wines and spirits industries have been facing. The distilled spirits industry in both the United States and the EU are begging the government administration in the EU and the US to come to the negotiation table, stressing the damage that the tariff wars have done to the wine and spirits industry. A group of 20 trade associations published a statement arguing that further EU tariffs on American spirits would increase the tensions between the United States and the EU, saying, "The application of excessive and unwarranted tariffs has to end. Hospitality businesses and our consumers, as well as producers, wholesalers and importers of distilled spirits, wine and beer, are being slammed from both sides of the Atlantic in an aircraft dispute wholly unrelated to the drinks business. This is on top of the closing of restaurants, bars, distilleries and winery tasting rooms because of the pandemic." The coalition also warned the tariffs could force more businesses to close and lay off more workers in sectors already severely weakened due to the current global pandemic. Kes and the band was recently considering legal action against a singer whose song was used to promote a new Apple product. Kes and the band no longer wishes to pursue legal action against anyone for using their song, Hello. Kes and the band's new management team was prepared to take legal action against a singer whose song they said is similar to the group's 2018 release, Hello. In 2018, Kes and the band released Hello on the folklore rhythm produced by Advocate Productions. The song proved to be a breakthrough hit for the band and lead singer Kees Dijventhaler, and today the song has garnered over 6 million views on Kes and the band's YouTube channel. The band also recently remade the song for its live album, We Home. In an advert for a new Apple product, there's a chorus in which the vocalist on the advert sings "Hello, hello, hello," and this had fans of the band wondering if the song was actually his. They said the lyrics sounded very familiar, so much so that fans started writing in and congratulating the band. However, Kes and the band responded saying, "It turns out that our dream of working with Apple has perhaps come in the form of musical theft and cultural appropriation. We are working to take the proper course of action." In an earlier statement by their management team, they said they're preparing to take the necessary legal actions to secure the band's interests and have already begun the process. However, since that time, the band has issued a statement via its website stating they do not intend to take legal action against Apple, Remy Wolf or Island Records. However, Kes and the band did say they wish to use this moment to call attention to the global resonance of soca music. In their statement, they said, "From calypso to steel pan to today's soca, the music of Trinidad and Tobago has long been a source of inspiration for artists, songwriters and producers in the broader music world. While borrowers of our cultural capital have sometimes credited the original sources, in many instances they have not. Similarly, interpretations of our music have gained access to promotion and corporate investment that is simply not afforded to our own local musicians, producers and songwriters," the band said. "It is our hope that people from all over the world will recognise the soca calypso genre as the treasure that it is, and when they hear aspects and elements of it in music from other places, they understand and appreciate where the influences come from. We will always fight for the genre and the music of Trinidad and Tobago." Once again, the original song was released for Carnival 2018 on the folklore rhythm produced by Advocate Productions, and the band released a live version of the song on their recent album, We Home. A controversial statue has been removed from the capital of Barbados. In Barbados, a statue of Royal Navy Vice Admiral Horatio Nelson was removed from the capital Bridgetown's main square on a Monday morning, 2 months after announcing plans to replace Britain's Queen Elizabeth as its head of state and move on from its colonial past. The bronze statue was unveiled in 1813 to commemorate Nelson and the British Royal Navy's victory in the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805. The Caribbean at that time was largely colonised by Britain, France and Spain, and was also an important battleground in the Napoleonic Wars, and the ruling classes and plantation elite had the statue erected to mark his role in the campaigns. Lord Nelson was made a hero in 1805 for the part he played in the historic Battle of Trafalgar, which is widely accepted as one of Britain's greatest naval victories. However, his heroism is contrasted by his vocal support of slavery and his opposition to the abolition of the colonial slave trade. As a result, the statue has been targeted for removal by various administrations since 1990 as a vestige of colonial rule, made even more controversial because of Nelson's defense of the slave trade, upon which Barbados' slave plantation economy was based. The square where it stood was originally called Trafalgar Square, but was renamed National Hero Square in 1999, although Nelson is not on the list of Barbados' 10 national heroes. But it took the global reassessment of history and George Floyd, a black man who died under the knee of a white Minneapolis police officer in May this year, to prompt the government into action. During a ceremony, Prime Minister Mia Mottley said the government accepted the statue was an important historic relic, but she said it's not a relic to be placed in the National Heroes Square of a nation that has had to fight for too long to shape its destiny and to forge a positive future for its citizens. It joins a number of other statues across the globe, including slave traders in Britain to Confederate generals in the United States, to have been hauled down as the Black Lives Matter campaign has gathered momentum. The famous statue of Nelson in Trafalgar Square in London, erected about 30 years after the one in Barbados, has also been targeted by activists for removal. Barbados was claimed for England in 1625 and became independent after more than 3 centuries of colonial rule in 1966. Its present-day population of about 287,000 people are mostly the descendants of African slaves brought over to work the plantations, and moves are now underway for Barbados to remove Queen Elizabeth as its head of state and to become a republic before the 55th anniversary of its independence next year. Due to their success in managing the virus, Mia Mottley is optimistic that some events may be able to go ahead next year in Barbados in 2021. At present, Prime Minister Mia Mottley is hopeful that in the year 2021, Barbados will be able to successfully host the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development and hold its sweetest summer festival, Crop Over, despite the global pandemic. Crossing her fingers all round, she said, not only because of the fact that the country's economy needs it, and I should say to you and the hoteliers would probably be pleased that we have and are hoping with fingers crossed too, that the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, we set it for the end of April. But I know that hoteliers are hopeful that that can happen. Speaking on November the 21st during the question and answer segment after a joint press conference alongside the Barbados Workers' Union and the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre, the Barbados leader said that a successful hosting and staging of the UNCTAD 15 in Barbados would be a great springboard for summer. However, she called on Bajans at home to follow the same instructions that she gave those in the diaspora via an Instagram video post last week asking them to take their time. And she added that she's not been to a fete since January because I'm conscious that I also have to interact with different levels of people and I can't be the one who's putting people at risk, however which way you cut it, slice it or dice it. So I've had to learn to live differently in the last few months and to learn to once again enjoy my music and use technology that keeps us in contact with all kinds of people. As a result, the National Cultural Foundation is currently in early discussions to facilitate the reimagining of future instalments of the Crop Over Festival, with a promise coming from the NCF's Chief Executive Officer, Carol Roberts-Reefer, saying, "We are in the process of reimagining Crop Over. We have reached a point where we almost don't talk about a virus anymore because this is the new normal." The NCF chief has also said that the current pandemic had revealed how delicate but important the arts and culture sector is to the overall economy of the island. With the cancellation of several music and cultural events this year, Roberts-Reefer took the time to express her appreciation of the local artistic community for their initiative and drive during the months of the economic inactivity earlier in the year. So, those are our stories for this week. And this week's tune, with a distinct nod to my favourite part of Carnival, Juve Morning, is Dutty Dutty by Taiisia Allyene. Taiisia Allyene was born on the island of Aruba, and she started her journey dancing and acting in local talent shows from the age of 4. Her love of music and performance led her to choreograph dance routines for many events on the island of Aruba, including various calypso contests, the Caribbean Sea Jazz Festival, and popular live bands such as Le Groove, Tsunami, and Youth Extreme. She's currently signed with the Cinto Music Network Incorporated, and other songs by Taiisia that you should check out are her first release titled My Language and her second release titled Live My Life. So, we like this song and we know you will too. This is Garvey Campbell, and you have been watching Carnival 24. We'll see you next time.
Hey, it's your girl Taiisia Allyene, all the way from the sunny sun, one happy island of Aruba, and you're watching the Carnival Network. Enjoy myself. I don't care what they say. They could call me Dutty if they want. I'm Dutty and I'm proud. Raise my leg up, I don't care. Cause way the tay. My powder all up in my head. Cause way the tay. Bend me back, say go no flat. Cause way the tay. We out to get on my back. Cause way the tay. Dutty, yeah, way the tay. Don't say a damn thing, we do as we please. Dutty, yeah, way the tay. Hands on the ground, I don't my knees. Dutty, oh Dutty, can you get? Oh Dutty, can you get? Oh Dutty, can you get? dirty? How dirty can you get? 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 Bumper have attitude, I said high altitude. But fiends starting up trouble, go down, turn up and bubble. Back and get a while, show me what your dirty mind. We whining everywhere, so my your bases and chairs. Raise my leg up, I don't care, cause very dirty. My powder all up in my head, cause very dirty. Bend me back, say go down flat, cause very dirty. We out to get your mind and back, cause very dirty. Don't say a damn thing, we do as we please. Dirty. Hands on the ground, I down on my knees. Dirty. We dirty. How dirty can you get? 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 Raise my leg up, I don't care, cause very dirty. My powder all up in my head, cause very dirty. Bend me back, say go down flat, cause very dirty. We out to get your mind and back, cause very dirty. Very dirty. Don't say a damn thing, we do as we please. Very dirty. Hands on the ground, I down on my knees. Dirty. Very dirty. We dirty.